Hi, welcome to today's vlog. Today we are going to be talking all things periods. So 92% of you who follow me are women, and for the 8% of men watching this, it might be TMI and you might want to go, oh, I don't want to hear about periods, or you can watch on and learn something. So I'm going to talk about periods and PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, which I used to suffer from, and I'm going to talk about how periods, hormones and PCOS affects our weight, how PCOS affected me and how I got rid of it. I love talking about periods and all that sort of stuff, and I wrote about periods at length in my book Labyrinth. I talked about the very first one that I ever got and how it was one of the best days of my life because I prayed for so long for it to arrive, and I talked at length as well about my PCOS. Now PCOS affects 10 to 20% of Irish women, they say, which is a huge percentage of people, so that's why I wanted to talk about it today. As I said, I go into great detail in it in the book, but I'm just going to kind of give you a general consensus of it here in today's vlog. So to rewind, I got my first period when I was 12, and from the moment that I got it, they were always irregular. You know, normally people go clockwork 28 days, 30 days. Mine were just always erratic and weird, and they always lasted for maybe like 1 or 2 days, when I know most women would be like 4 or 5 day bleed, and I was just 1 or 2 days. It was just always off, shall we say. Now all throughout my teens I was a slim, healthy weight, and I only started to put weight on around the age of 19, and then all through my 20s and 30s. Now by my mid-20s they had become quite irregular, and I'd say like the symptoms that I was suffering from PCOS was purely that I had very irregular periods, that I was getting them maybe, I don't know, maybe at that stage about 3 or 4 times a year. Now there are a multitude of other symptoms that go with PCOS, like a lot of people who suffer from acne on their face or on their backs and chests, excess hair growth. There's loads of other symptoms to go with it, but for me it was just totally irregular periods and massive hormonal imbalances that affected my weight. So with PCOS, what happens to us is that it makes us insulin resistant. Now, you know the way I'm always banging on about sugar and telling everybody that they need to reduce their sugar intake. Why is that? Because excess sugar consumed is converted to fat and stored in the body. Now, when you suffer from PCOS, your hormones are all over the place and you're insulin resistant, which puts you at a greater risk of not being able to process that sugar and turn it into energy. So your body doesn't know what to do with the carbohydrates, so it just goes, oh my God, we're just having a hormonal storm here. Send it to the tummy, send it to the bum, send it to the thighs, just store it. We don't know what to do with it. So the hormones are just all over the place. It also makes you crave sugar. So what your body doesn't need, your body starts to crave, and it is just, it's just a bloody nightmare. So anyway, before I was diagnosed, I just knew that something was wrong. Now in my mid-20s, what I did was I went to my GP and I told him about my irregular cycle, and I just said, I know something's not right. And I was thinking to myself at that time that, you know, I don't have a Mr. Right in my life, but when the time comes for me, when I find him and I want to start a family, I was there going, if my periods are this irregular, maybe I should sort out this problem now while I'm in my kind of early 20s, so that when he comes along we'll be able to start a family. Now little did I know, bleeding 10, 15 years later I'd still be looking for him, let alone even at the stage of trying to start a family. Anyway, so the doctor sent me to, where did I go? I went to the Blackrock Clinic, and it was for an ultrasound, and all I had to do was drink, I think it was like 1 or 2 liters of water or something, and then they just did a scan on my tummy, and they immediately saw that there was cysts on my ovaries and diagnosed me with PCOS. So I was like, right, okay. So I started learning about it and reading up about it. Of course I was there, my God, this is exactly why I'm fat. I blamed everything on my hormones, everything on the PCOS. Now it was a huge influence on my weight, but the reason I was overweight was because I ate too much and I didn't move enough. And also my emotional relationships with food and everything. My PCOS was a contributing factor. But of course, when I got the diagnosis, I was like, yeah, this is my ticket out of this. I was there, it's not my fault, yeah, it's my hormones. yeah, it wasn't all my hormones' fault. And I wrote about that an awful lot in Flabberth. Okay, so let's take a look at what happens in a normal person's reproductive cycle. This is how I imagine it, and whenever I think about anything medical or related to do with the body, I always think of that Channel 4 cartoon called How the Body Works, and we used to watch it growing up as kids, and it was absolutely amazing. I'll see if I can get a clip of it and stick it up in there. So whenever I imagine anything in the body, that's kind of how I visualize it. Okay, so this is need to get a new marker. Yes! Okay. So this is a normal person's menstrual cycle. I don't really know exactly what the ovaries look like, but you know, kind of generally, you've got one there and you've got another one there, and then you've got this kind of goes like that, and there are tubes down into this section. You know what I mean? Anyway, so this here is your uterus. Okay. So a normal person has got lots of eggs within each of the ovaries. And this is how I visualize it. So once a month, one of these little eggs travels out of the ovary down the fallopian tube, and she sits just about there. Now the uterus, I imagine as a nightclub. Let's just say that this is the dance floor of Copperface Jack's, Ireland's greatest nightclub that ever there was. Okay, so down she comes, and she's feeling rather seductive. She's wearing red lacy lingerie, and she comes in, she lies down on the bar, and she's like, paint me like one of your French girls. She's spritzing perfume on herself, she's putting on red lipstick, and she's basically waiting for some sperm to arrive so that she can dish out her greatest chat-up lines, seduce him, get herself pregnant, goal done. That's what she wants to do. So when no sperm actually arrives, she starts to get really pissed off. So she slams a few tequilas, gets a bit rowdy, lets her dark side come out, until eventually the bouncers have to be sent in, and they're like, uh-oh, this one's gone absolutely crazy. And this is the lining of the uterus, which is the period, and she has to be kicked out. So they're like, right, sorry missus, you have to go. And down she goes, Shark Week. And that is a period. And her going absolutely mental in there is essentially period pain. And then when you take painkillers, that's like sending in the bouncers just to get rid of her and just kind of calm her down. So that's what happens in a normal person's menstrual cycle. And each month, you know, an egg comes from that side, and then from that side down it comes and becomes a period. Right. Now, when you've got PCOS, what is the difference? Okay, so obviously we've got the exact same structure. Ovaries, how did I draw this? Oh yeah, fallopian tube down it there, fallopian tube down it there. That looks a bit demented, but you know what I mean. And there is the uterus going on in there. Again, the same. There are loads of little eggs here in each ovary. Now, the difference being all of these little eggs are asleep as normal, and when the body sends in the hormones to activate one of these eggs, what it's supposed to do, like this one, is travel down there into the uterus. But what happens with the eggs when you've got PCOS is that instead of going down into the nightclub, what they decide to do is, let's do a bit of pre-drinking. So one of the eggs wakes up, she starts getting ready for her night out, she hammers into a bottle of wine, drinks way too much of it, and gets so pissed that she doesn't even make it down the slide into the nightclub. Oh no, she gets so drunk that what she does is she runs headfirst into the wall of the ovary and passes out, and that becomes a cyst. So she doesn't even make it down there. So that's why all the hormones and everything are just so all over the place. And every single month, instead of actually heading to the nightclub, she gets so hammered that she ends up just running through the wall of the ovary and becomes a cyst. Now, in some people, these cysts can become absolutely huge, and they can cause great amounts of pain, and you have to get them lasered off and all sorts of horrific things. But they are the cysts, and that is what happens, and why she doesn't make it down there and actually become a period. So yeah, that's PCOS, and this is a normal cycle. So I'm happy to say that I have normal cycle these days, and I made a vow that I would never moan about period pains or, you know, just the whole of periods, because when you don't have them, when you actually have them again, you do appreciate them. So there's no moaning for me, and I'm actually delighted to be buying boxes of Tampax. So got the diagnosis, and then I was like, right, okay, well, what do I need to do to sort it out? So the doctor suggested that I try going on the pill, even though I had nobody to shag or anything like that. It wasn't as a contraceptive, it was purely just to regulate my periods. So I went on the pill, and oh my God, it made me feel, there's no words to describe it. Well, there is. This is how I describe it. I felt like I was not in my body. I felt like I was outside of my body, looking down on my body, as if like looking into my body like it was a carcass and I wasn't in it. And I was just there going, oh my God, it's so weird. I felt just demented on it. The pill just didn't agree with me. I tried a few different ones. I tried the patch one, light versions of it, everything, and I just felt awful. I felt so not myself, and I just had to come off it because it just didn't agree with me. So I tried loads and loads of different things with my PCOS over the years, and yeah, I even went to see I don't know if she was an obstetrician or a gynecologist. I don't know, I can't remember what the difference is between the two of them, but anyway, she was a wagon, and I paid 250 quid for the consultation, and I went in and told her my whole story, whatever, and she was just an owl biatch, and she just like basically looked at me across the table and was just like, well, why don't you go on a diet? Something to that effect. She basically told me that I needed to lose weight, and when I would lose weight, that would sort out my PCOS. And I was like, yeah, but my PCOS affects my weight and makes me prone to putting on weight, so what? Anyway, she was an old cow. So what happened then? So anyway, I suppose after years and years, I just kind of gave up on it, and I was just like, well, this is just the way my period cycle is. Sure, don't have a man in my life anyway, what the hell? And I just got more and more and more overweight, and my hormones became more and more demented, until I was getting one period a year, and then at my heaviest weight, so kind of like in my early 30s, I was getting none. So I had no periods at all. Now, then I sorted my weight out. I had my gastric bypass surgery and dramatically obviously lost 9 stone in 10 months, and within 3 months my periods came back. And that was because I cut sugar out of my diet. Well, I didn't cut it out completely, I just went on a very low sugar diet, and the weight came down, my hormones rebalanced. The way I describe it is like if I was a computer, I went Control Alt Delete and reset and restarted and rebooted my computer. All my hormones rebalanced, my sugar levels and everything rebalanced out, and it just completely transformed everything. My cycle just came back normal. Now it was still like, now I get a period like a normal person every sort of around about 30 days, and again, it still only lasts 1 or 2 days, but it still is a normal period. And as part of my documentary, and I'm going to show the footage now, I went to the SINS clinic, a fertility clinic, and they had a look, an ultrasound but internally, and he had a look at my ovaries to see what they were like after I'd lost the weight. And here is the footage now from my documentary 9 Stone Lighter, which is still available to watch, only in Ireland though because of music copyright stuff. In Ireland you can still watch it on the RTE player. It's just rtplayer.ie, and just type 9 Stone Lighter into the search, and the documentary is there if you want to watch it. So yeah, here's the footage from that.
And this is your left ovary. If you had polycystic ovarian syndrome, what I would expect to see is loads of little follicles dotted all around the outside of your ovary. And again, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looking at your ovaries here, they're an appropriate and normal size and shape, and they have an appropriate and correct and normal number of follicles. So essentially they're completely normal.
So I'm cured.
You're cured. Genuinely, you're cured. I'd like normally put caveats on that, but I don't need to here today. Your ovaries appear normal, your testosterone is normal, your cycles have returned to normal, you don't have any additional hair growth, you're cured. It's infinitely better for her that her weight has come down, that her fat deposits have shrunk away, that she doesn't have this altered metabolism anymore, and that her periods have come back in. The fact that she's ovulating regularly is absolutely key to her just getting pregnant herself.
I now know that by losing all this weight, I don't need to worry, and that, you know, I can be a mom someday. And it's actually, it's quite emotional. You know, it's an amazing, magical thought to know that there's no obstacles in my way now. Well, apart from the man, but hey, we'll solve that.
What was I thinking with that colour hair? I don't know. I don't know the answer. It is tragic. I know. So a year and a half on since I've lost the weight, my periods are completely normal. I have no symptoms whatsoever of anything PCOS, which just goes to prove that cutting sugar dramatically out of your diet and as a result losing weight rebalances your hormones and effectively gets rid of your PCOS symptoms, and it has been a life changer for me. All I need to do now is find the husband, and then and then I can start the family. But anyway, we'll work on that. That's a work in progress. So yeah, there's my PCOS story, a positive one, because usually we hear terrible ones. So anybody out there suffering from PCOS, know that it can be gotten rid of, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. Thanks for watching today's vlog. As I said, anybody out there with PCOS, read my book Labyrinth, and I'll go into the whole thing way more in depth, and just shows you can get rid of it. It can be done. Yay! So thanks for watching today's vlog. I'll see you back here again tomorrow for another vlog at 6.